Good morning, guys, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, along with my co-host every week, Kristen Nolan. This is coming live from San Antonio, Texas. So we say good morning or afternoon to you. Such an amazing day. Every Friday at 12 noon Central Time, this podcast will go live on Facebook and live on YouTube. We're going to upload to a bunch of sites later on. So come and join us every single week. There's some people already on. Good afternoon, guys. Good to see you on. This is Breaking Through Addiction. When we talk about the addiction, we talk about alcoholism, we talk about behavior, all sorts of topics. So if you're recovering from anything, that big cake, it could be sex, it could be pornography, whatever it is, and you want to be a guest, we want to hear from the average people. Listen, we've done all these celebrity interviews in our past. We want to hear from the average person who wants to sell an average story to help the average guy, because that's me and Kristen. You may look at us now, oh my God, look at them up there. Nice. No, we're in the trenches, guys. And we always will be, and we always have done. So don't forget to join us. Hey, Chris, what's going on? What's been happening?
Hey, Doc. How are you?
Fucking amazing. I come out of surgery about 2 weeks ago. So I haven't seen you for 2 weeks, guys. 2 weeks ago, I'm down 35 pounds or something. I'm looking great, sharp, thinking good. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Looking very good. You're like reinvented.
I am. I'm going to reinvent myself as an English gentleman, I think.
Nice.
You know, the little bowler hat and the little glasses and a bow tie. I don't know. We'll think about that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So today, guys, we have Mike Lindsay on the show. Mike Lindsay is an amazing guy. He's done and seen it all and been there. We're going to hear an amazing story. I've got some great questions for him, guys. And again, don't forget, we have the comments open for those people who are watching this live, and there are several right now. You can hit the comments button, and you can ask Mike or me or Kristen or the next guest a live question, and we'll answer straight away. So listen, guys, get ready. Hold on to your hats. We'll be right back after this with Mike Lindsay. Welcome back, guys. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, along with Kristen Nolan, my co-host. This is Breaking Through Addiction. Welcome, guys. Good to see you today. On the first guest on today is Mike Lindsay. Hey, Mike, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, man. Great.
Good,
I'll let Kristen start with the first question.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if you want to just go ahead and share what you want to share, kind of tell your story. Go right on ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, I was born and raised in Oregon, in a pretty small town in Oregon, and raised by I was adopted and at birth, and I was raised by a pastor and his wife, and kind of a tough growing up, trying to understand, the pastor, man in the pulpit on Sunday and a regular man, the rest of the week, and he didn't seem to invest a lot in the family, unfortunately, and so I think I had a lot of self esteem, self-worth issues kind of growing up. Felt we were kind of the poor house on the block and that kind of stuff, and so I think I felt in comparison to other people, I felt less than, kind of growing up, and kind of a theme throughout my young life. And so let
me stop you there, Mike. Stop you there.
Yes.
And I'll stop you as we go along as well, because it kind of brings questions up for me. So I often hear, and I was the case as well, about this not good enough. Where did that come from, Mike? Is that some trauma in your life that you had?
I don't know. I'm really trying to I'm in counseling currently, and I'm really trying to work through that. And there's a lot of missing pieces back in there. There was times where I remember standing over my mom, in between my dad and my mom, fighting him off as a young child, and we ended up in a women's shelter, me and my mom, and that kind of stuff for a while. There's separation, and this happened. Then there's other times where I was spending length periods of time at friends' houses and stuff down the street because my parents were sorting through stuff, and so I think that was probably some of the trauma that was you might be referring to.
Yeah, because one of the main deals with trauma is the abandonment that we suffer. as a child, and people always ask me the same question: is marijuana the gateway drug? And I say, not as far as I'm concerned. And the research we've done, it's trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma is the gateway drug. You know, we have to go back. We have to look at that stuff because the abandonment, the shame, the remorse, the guilt. You know, it's absolutely eats us alive, and it affects us in so many ways that you wouldn't even think of. So when our relationships don't really work out, go back to the trauma, you'll figure out. When you keep attracting the wrong girl, go back to your trauma, you'll find out why you keep doing that. But we forget trauma. If I could just stop drinking today, Mike, everything would be okay. If I just got that new car, Mike, no. You know, if happy money won't bring you happiness. Anybody who's had money before will tell you that, including me. You know, happiness comes within, but unless you go back and sort that trauma out. And on that line, guys, I want to say something to you listeners. Listen to this, guys. If you're sat in the same position, and I'm talking to Mike as well, who doesn't think they were good enough when they're growing up, who doesn't think they'll amount to anything when they're growing up, I want to apologize to you. I want to apologize to you, man, because someone's fucking put that there. We're not born this way. We're born with $1 million minds. Stop hanging around 10-cent minds just because you think that's where you should be. It's not. It's not. Okay, Mike, carry on. Sorry.
That's good stuff. Yeah, no, that's good. I heard something about when we face trauma at a young age that part of our maturity stops at that point. And I don't know. I thought that was
it's true. If you think about drinking, let's say, so you know, drinking for like 20, 30 years. So let's say you're 45 when you finally get it, do the program, recover, like me, recovered alcoholic, and then you look back at the crazy things that I do. Like the crazy colored shirts, the crazy car, the sneakers, the scrubs, the way I present myself. I'm like a 20, 25-year-old kid. That's because that's when my maturity stopped. When I finally got this deal, it's like it was just amazing how we can go back to that happy, joyous, and free time and act the way we want. Because what we find is once you start on that journey, there's nothing you can't accomplish. And I'm sick of telling people, well, I can't be president. Well, I beg to differ these days. You know, you can be that person. And the only difference between the guy sat at home in a one-bedroom apartment, bored and homeless and whatever it may be, alcoholic, and the guy in the CEO position in that tall building is nothing apart from he believed in himself and you don't right now. That's what I tell people. There's no difference. There really isn't. You have to reach for the stars. Stop putting the brakes on your imagination. Stop it, because it will come true if you believe. Go on, Mike.
Yeah. So you know, as a child, you know, I look back and I you know, turned to food because that's what I knew, you know, sugar and stuff like that. And then it kind of grew, obviously, into high school and exposure to marijuana and alcohol and you know, on to all the other drugs and stuff. Got married at an early age. Had a family young, and I just continued, you know, as a functioning addict, but you know, the addiction just wreaked havoc throughout the whole. You know, we weren't able to build anything. We weren't able to create, you know, a house or a home or anything like that. Everything was always chaos, and I was addicted to that as well. You know, just spending all the money on the paycheck and then figuring it out, and then, you know, things are better, and then do it all over again. And I was a chameleon, moved around from, you know, drugs to alcohol to sex to gambling to spending to, you know, just like I said, the overall chaos.
Yeah.
And I was never really happy. And I think my wife was, or ex-wife now, was codependent. And so we were together for 20 years. And eventually I got a separation and moved out on my own. And I was introduced to crystal meth, and that completed the downward spiral rather quickly. Kind of came as advertised, and I ended up losing everything and on the streets for a year. And so, and this is like age, you know, 44, you know, I'm at the time. And so, you know, and you feel like you should, you know, I should be old enough to, you know, not be in this position and figure life out and all that kind of stuff. But I was just in the grips of this addiction at the time. And so I spent, like I said, I spent a year on the streets, and I was bouncing around from city to city here in Oregon, and flying a sign for money. You know, if I got $20, I'd get high. If I got less than that, I'd get a burger and a nap, you know, kind of thing. And it's just something had to change. And so I told myself it was August of 2014. I can't survive another winter out here. You know, the previous winter was pretty brutal, and I always seemed to be a season behind with what I was wearing. It was like snowing, and I'm walking around in flip flops, and you know,
Oh
I
yeah.
just never
Yeah.
could figure stuff out. And so anyway, I I don't remember like some kind of a bright light or any kind of a moment or anything, but I just realized I could not survive another year. It was super hot, and I was in Scappoose, Oregon, and I would hang out in the library during the day, and air conditioning, because I'm a smart addict, and so I would get on the computer, and on paper I had a pretty good, even with all my troubles and tribulations and all that kind of stuff, I had a pretty good resume, on paper, and I figured I could explain away the missing year type thing. And so I started brushing up my resume, and I sent it out and stuff. And then this is when I started to see some higher power being present in my life. I fired these things out, and I started getting some stuff back. And they were trying to contact me on my free Wi-Fi cell phone that did never worked, kind of thing. And so it was kind of tedious. But anyway, I got some interviews, and then I reached out on Craigslist, sent out an ad to get some interview clothes, because all I had was just crap. And this nice couple reached out and gave me a bunch of clothes and toiletries and stuff, and we stayed in contact for many years after that. And then I needed a ride from. My plan was to go back to my hometown and get into detox, because I knew I could stay there for a safe place for 5 days, and I had an interview scheduled the next week and stuff. So, but I couldn't get down there. I tried to hitchhike, and I missed every day. Every day I had to call them and say, I can't make it today. Do you have a bed tomorrow? So I called a friend, and he came and picked me up, and he said, what's your backup plan? Because I can't take you. We can't take you in. And it's like, oh, it'll work. Well, when they asked me when I used, they were standing in front of me as I was on the phone with them, and I said, I was honest about it. I was like, well, 3 days ago. And they said, well, you don't need detox anymore. And so I was like, oh. So my friends, they reluctantly took me in, but every morning we went down to the homeless shelter, Salvation Army, and tried to get a bed. After a few days, I got a bed, and then a couple of these interviews worked out. I actually had physical interviews, and one was for this senior cost accounting position. And it was going to start like $85,000, and the interviews were going great. And they wanted an in-person interview. I went and big panel interview, 9 people. I'm nailing all the questions, and then they said, since you don't have a degree, we want to ask you some financial questions. And that's where my higher power just pulled the plug. I failed every single question because my mind, I was off of meth for about a week at this point, so I was still very, very cloudy. And so, but another job picked up and called, and so after I got the no on a Tuesday, Wednesday I really wanted to use and go back out. I've been in the homeless shelter for a week at this point, so I did not use. And the next day I got the phone call from this other place in Vancouver, Washington, and they said, can you start Monday? Well, I'm in Salem with like 2 bags of clothes that I own. That's everything I own. No car, no money, in the Salvation Army homeless shelter. And Vancouver's 60 miles away. I said, I'll be there. So my intention was, wash my junk in a McDonald's bathroom for 2 weeks until I get paid, and then figure it out from there. But I made a couple phone calls. I didn't know anything about Oxford House at the time, but I made a few phone calls and asked, would you work with me? I have a job. I don't have the money for the rent right now, but I do have a job. And a couple places weren't going to, work with me. But 2 places were, and they both had interviews that Sunday. So I'm thinking this is another kind of higher power thing. I get up there, have the interview, got one of the houses. It turned out to be 1 mile from where I worked. And I thought that's totally another God shot. So I it was just, and that really helped propel me to get into recovery and go to meetings, work steps, and then I reached out to try to find something creative to fill my time. And I went to get some voice lessons. I like to sing, and that didn't really fill the need I was feeling. And I saw this class for stand-up comedy, and it was on Sundays for like 4 hours for like 7 weeks. It was only $250, and I was like, wow, I mean, yeah, I'll check this out. And that has been amazing, and it's has led to now it's 6 years later. I have my own comedy showcase. It's called Unloaded Comedy, Laugh Yourself Clean, and it features all clean and sober comics. We perform all over the Pacific Northwest. And before COVID, we were getting audiences averaging over 250. And when I started, 2020, I was starting to book venues that were 300 plus, and a lot of great things lined up, and some nationally touring comics that were going to join, and all this stuff. And then obviously, the world just, and so now it's, trying to slowly build.
Oops, we lost Mike. You hearing Chris?
I don't hear him. I think
No.
we lost him.
Oh dear. Okay. That's a crazy story, Chris. And I'll tell you why. That the 12, 14 months on the streets, that's exactly how long I stayed. That was unbelievable. But yeah, you can see the progression of the illness as we go through with Mike, So Mike, what advice would you give somebody in the situation that you was when you was homeless?
Well, I would reach out. I mean, I that's one of the things I did, was just reach out for help. There's people and resources out there to help you. One of the things that was key to my recovery was, there's so many cliches around, throughout recovery. And as you get more and more in tune with your own recovery, these cliches mean more and more to you, and you have kind of get a different understanding of what they truly mean. And changing your people, places, and things was really huge for me. I had to get out of the town that I was in, and it's not to say that the dope man doesn't live on every corner in every town, but for me, it created that additional barrier of these are people that I would have to generate an entirely new connection and a relationship with somebody to further advance my addiction. And so by separating, you take away all those friends and people that just show up and oh yeah, sure, I'll just do what you're doing, kind of thing. So you give yourself that opportunity to separate yourself from that and take care of you. And then early in recovery, I also focused on, yes, I did a lot of damage to, my ex-wife and my children and all that kind of stuff, but I put them on the back burner in the initial, 90 days at least, to focus on myself, because I was finding that I really wanted to turn the focus elsewhere, and I needed to focus on me and what I needed at that time. And then honesty was a huge key for me. And I tell people that was my superpower at the time, was because it just being honest with myself and being honest with everybody else, it just removes so much of that stuff that we carry around. Like what have I told Dr. Rob, and then what's the story I told Kristen, and then I got to remember both of those, and it's just all that BS that we generate and create. And so just letting all that go was very helpful for me.
Mike,
yes,
you were saying how you were thinking about bringing Unloaded to San Antonio.
Yeah, that would be.
Can you tell us about that, and then can you tell us a few jokes or a couple jokes?
Yeah, I could probably do that. Yeah, no, I was definitely wanting to talk to Dr. Rob about the possibility of bringing myself and a couple comedians down to San Antonio and put on a show. It could be however we wanted to make it. It could be a free show. It could be a ticketed show. It could be a fundraiser, or whatever the case is. It's just. Just have to talk about some numbers, to help us get down there and back. So, we've been very blessed to have all of our shows here in the Pacific Northwest end up in the black. So that's a very positive thing as far as the business side. And then the impact that we have, we're able to reach out and do fundraisers for different events and different recovery centers that may be in need and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we love to consider talking about that. And then a lot of the when I get with like when I bring on a new recovery comic and stuff, I kind of like to learn their story. I like to have our comics be active in their own recovery. And I'm not a recovery cop or anything like that. I'm not checking their meetings and stuff, but you just kind of get a feel if people are serious about their recovery. And then when I talk about their material, I like to I encourage them to have like 50-50, because they have a lot of really funny jokes and they're successful in the mainstream as well. But they also have some really good recovery stuff. And I want them to be able to have enough recovery stuff in their material to let the audience know that they're one of them, if that makes sense. There's that connection. So, kind of I like to joke a lot about my my recovery or my addiction with meth. I'm a pretty big guy. And I'm working on being a smaller guy because I'm trying to get a hip replaced. I've lost 100 pounds. I've got 20 pounds to go for the surgery, so I'm feeling good about that. But so I'm a big guy, and I got all my teeth. I don't look like the typical meth addict. I'm not trying to stereotype or anything, but so that's kind of where I start when I bring that up. Is I announce that I'm my clean and sober time and stuff, and usually get a little round of applause. And then if I'm telling the story in a bar, I'm like, I realize there's a lot of adult beverages going on here. I'm not trying to ruin your vibe or anything. I just got tired of masturbating outside of Starbucks at 3 a.m. and had to make some changes in my life. And then I say I battled addiction for over 30 years, and my last drug of choice actually was crystal meth. And I know what you're thinking. He was doing it wrong. Did he deep fry it and roll it in sugar? Did he say Crisco meth? I think he said Crisco meth. And then, meth took everything from me, my house, my job, my car. There's no country song you can play backwards to get all that back. I even lost 150 pounds. Thank God I found those, every last one. And help you visualize 150 pounds. That's 2 meth addicts and their dog.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's just
awesome.
A little bit, yeah.
So what's your life like today, Mike? Just I mean, everybody finds himself in situations. It's just a stepping stone. You're being taught a lesson to go and do greater things. But according to mental, the psychology behind well-being. Whereabouts are you? Are you good?
It's today I'm good. There's been some events in my life recently that pretty traumatic as far as like my marriage. We're currently in separation, and when I left the house, I didn't know where I was going, and I wrestled with some decisions. Had some thoughts and some urges, and I thought to myself, you know what, I cannot be present to work on this marriage, or dissolve it in an amicable way, or whichever direction this is going, because it's undetermined at this time. But I need to be present, I need to be safe and take care of myself. So I took the steps immediately that day to I actually had to cancel a couple of my upcoming shows, unloaded shows, which is unfortunate, but I needed to put myself first in this moment, and I sought out some sober living. And then that was through a local recovery church called Exchange Recovery Church. And the folks there helped me, Pastor Bill and Pastor Vicky, helped me get some temporary housing. And then I got into more of this higher power stuff. This guy walked into the house randomly. He used to live there, and he said he's now the president of an Oxford house. And so we had a conversation, and then a couple of days later, I moved into that Oxford house. So, nice. And that's where I'm more familiar with, as far as the program and all that stuff. And it kind of fit me where I'm at right now. I need some accountability and nothing, crazy strict, but just, some support and some accountability to know that, if I continue to be clean and sober, that I have a safe place to keep me and myself at the moment. So that's where I'm at. That's the backdrop you see is my my fancy digs in the Oxford house, and it's the house is kind of old and worn, but the guys here are wonderful and chill and laid back, and it's a pretty drama-free experience so far, which has been very nice.
Excellent. What about your kids, Mike? Have you got children?
I do. They're adult. I have two adult children. One's 30 and one's 25, and we are currently estranged. And it was kind of weird. I'm now 7 years clean and sober, and around year 3, year 4, we would still be, you know, meeting up for Christmas and holidays and stuff like that. And then I don't know. I don't know if it's my new relationship that I had or exactly what, but we've kind of drifted apart. And I think there's some amends that needed to be still taken care
Yeah.
of. And
Yeah.
it's just
And they take time. They do take time,
and
you know.
it's not all, you know, you hear about all these people, you know, oh, I'm 6 months into recovery, I got my kids back, and I got this, and I got this, and I got that, I got a lot of things too, but this is one that has been an area that needs more work. And you know, and I think there's some time, and maybe there's some desire or lack of to you know, have a reconciliation. I don't know. Not on my part, but I mean, maybe they're just, you know, hey, you know what, we're good. So I'd hate to, if that was the case, I'd hate that. But you know, I need to focus on the current situation and get that resolved, and then be present to continue. And so when this all happened with my situation with my wife, there was some breach of trust, and I was under a lot of different stresses. I'd buried my father. I had you know, been dealing with some you know, issues, trust issues on her side, and I didn't handle it well. And so I resorted back to some you know, character defects, and some you know, I call them other addictions. It wasn't drug and alcohol, but and so I kind of acted out and stepped out of the marriage with the massage, and you can imagine the type of massage. But so that obviously caused I was caught, and so that was obviously caused a huge issue.
Once you're caught, you're caught.
Yeah.
There's no going back from that, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just crazy.
And so we you know, we separated at that point. This was back in July. We separated that week for a couple weeks, and then kind of worked on things, got into marriage counseling, and that's when I really turned up the dial on my recovery. And I kind of realized that, you know, I've been floating around in my recovery for quite some time, too long, not doing the work I needed to do for me. And I was justifying things by, oh yeah, I took this guy to drove him down and checked him into a treatment center, or I helped this guy on, you know, find some resources, or I did an unloaded comedy benefit show, or I did you know, all these different things, but I wasn't filling my own tank. And then when these you know, things came up, and the manner which they came up, and the intensity and the quantity, just one after the other, I wasn't prepared to handle it in a proper way, and I resorted back to something that would numb me and take away the pain, and then that caused more pain. And she doesn't understand why I did that, and she doesn't understand an addict mind. She's a normie. She doesn't understand how addicts think and act, and you know, it wasn't anything to do with her or anything to do with, you know, it was. So anyway, so right now, since then, you know, 4 or 5 meetings a week. I'm of service. I'm a secretary at a meeting. I go to this men's group weekly. I have a sponsor, working the steps. I have other sponsor figures, I call them, that I'm in contact with multiple times a week. One's daily. We do a just for today meditation in the morning. I'll read it and then send them a text about what it means to me. And sometimes it generates some discussion, and sometimes it's just, you know, just to check in, basically. Also individual counseling, and we were going to marriage counseling until this last couple weeks, where we had another fallout over some communication, and it just kind of blew up because we were still, I think, too fragile and wounded from the previous incident. So,
Mike,
yes.
I totally relate to a lot of things that you were saying, in the sense of, you know, you were talking about sometimes, you know, people are talking about, oh, I got this great new job. I got this, I made amends to this person and they're back in my life. And, you know, after so many years or whatever, but I relate to you a lot because I have 3 years, and, you know, I see other people having what other would call more than me.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from in that area a lot. But, one thing that I think is really, really honorable and just great is that You've shared, you're very humble in what you're sharing with us today. You're keeping it real about what you're going through and about, it's not all, peaches and cream right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I really, really, I admire you for that. And I just wanted to know, what advice would you give to somebody who's also going through some really bad struggles right now? What advice would you give them to get through this?
Well, I think we hear it a lot said that without recovery, you don't have anything. And so I think maybe take a hard look at what you're doing. What are you doing to put your recovery first, and what are you doing to feed your own recovery and fill your own cup? Because if we don't do that, then we're not present and valuable in our relationships with other people, and who we come in contact with and everything. So I think that's the key for me, was just getting back to those basics. And I got a sponsor that's got 37 years, and he doesn't I did some 4-step work, and he goes, "This is great, but you got more work to do." So I found a new sponsor. No, no, but it's good to have somebody really keep you kind of accountable, and working on what you need to be working on. And the counseling is helping as well. Just really taking a hard look at what you're doing, where you really were, and that comes back to that honesty as being a superpower. It can really help you identify what's really going on, but you have to be willing. That's again that openness and willingness and all that. So
yeah, excellent. Well, we've run out of time again, Mike.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
thank you for your story. Nice, humble story. We love that.
Thank you.
Lots of people watching you today, so got inspiration. So thank you for coming on the show. No doubt we'll meet again.
Okay.
If you need anything in the interim period, call Courtney.
Okay.
Or Janet, and we'll try our best to help you out. But thank you so much, Mike.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Right. Bye.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, along with Kristen Nolan. This is Breaking Through Addiction. Good to see you. Big shout out for Ellie Lawton over in England. She always follows us. She's an amazing person. We speak many days during the week. So good luck to you. Have a great day, Ellie. Hope your evening's going well, because it's 6:30 over there now. That was pretty good, Chris. What do you reckon?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a comedian person too. Like I make humor out of a lot of my situations. So there's a lot of things about him that I really related to.
Yeah, this I know, having gone through it, I'll come out the other side. And I tried probably 10 years trying to get clean and sober, in and out of meetings, being told bullshit most of the times, not being told the real truth about what the book holds and how everybody can recover, 100% guaranteed. I was just in and out. But when I finally got my shit together, and there's been some stumbles on the way, of course, because we're all human. The other side is amazing, and I've not seen my youngest daughter yet, but my eldest daughter, as most of you know out there, is she runs my Manchester office in the UK. She's an NLP practitioner, and she's doing really well, and she works for us. And one day it'll be all handed down to her, no doubt, and she can be sat here with you, Chris. And you're in your 50s, awesome. just taking over. It's absolutely amazing.
I would love that.
I know. Anything else you've been doing this week, Chris? Because our second guest has not turned up, unfortunately.
Oh,
so it's going to be a short show.
Oh, okay. If I just kind of wanted to say something real quick, it's funny because a lot of the people that say that they haven't yet made the amends with their kids and stuff like that, I have found, if there's more than one child, usually it's almost like split. Like one is totally willing to, and then the other one is like, no, I don't need it. Like I found that to be, because a lot of times when you have two kids, one's one way and the other one's completely opposite in other ways. So I have really found that to be true. So, I'm hoping that Mike gets that, at least if one, is willing to, hear their dad, and I think it'll happen for him. And then that's just really played on my heart, that I felt like I needed to say that. But
That
Continue
amends is tricky. That amends, because you hear the peers are telling you that you need to do your amends. You need to say sorry to people. You know, if you're in certain 12-step groups, that's not what the book says. You know, the amends is for me. It's not for the other person. If they throw me out the office or don't want to speak to me, that's fine. It's for me, in me only. And I have a script that I say when I'm doing this, and I read it from the script because they won't interrupt me while I do it. And the more I did, the more I got into it, because that book says after you do this, you'll feel miraculous, and all these get uplifted, and all your fears and worries will flow away. But I see the same track in Mike as I do in myself. It's like you don't see it when you are. I mean, can you imagine when I was on the streets, even remotely believing in what I've got today? It was just beyond the realm. I had a quicker turn into a spaceman, you know, or an elephant. There's just no way you going to imagine that I'm going to be here doing what we do, you know, all these years on. But, you know, it happens. It's all about belief. It's all about, you know, going forward, knowing your own self, and really knowing the true person that you are, and that we're all gifted in some way, and that, you know, whatever you do is going to work out if you want it bad enough. And I think many people, when they start the journey out, they're dreaming too small. I see it all the time. You know, if I could just get like a new phone, ask for a car, ask for a house, keep working with his kids, and you'll be okay. Things come, you know. We want to ask for so little, and he wants to give us so much. That's the problem we have in this lifetime. And I keep telling people, you know, I asked for a huge show on TV so I could get on there and a bigger platform, and I got it. I asked for a lot of money that we can give a lot of money away. I got it. You know, I asked for a house. Everything I've asked for has come true because I'm doing the right thing. And once you do the right things, amazing things will happen. However, like me in the early days, I don't want to do that. And if I do this, but I might do a little bit of that, but nothing works out. I kept relapsing. I found out I'm a great believer in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'll tell you why. All the studying over the years I've done, all the degrees I have, all the experience I have, all the books I've read, I've never seen anything like the copy in the AA book. What they write there in 1939 about a psychic change, which is purely a change of mind. 10 years ago, the medical fraternity found out that the brain is like plastic. They call it neuroplasticity, which I specialize in, and neural pathways. 1939, they knew this, guys. They were far beyond their time, years beyond their time. And when you really study that book, it has all the answers to all of your problems, because the problem is me. That's the problem. And if it's any alcoholic can walk into a room and pick that book up and listen to stories, and it's just like him, because there is a makeup of the alcoholic, and we're all the same. The traits are exactly the same. And nobody's going to turn up at my door and go, hey, Rob, there's $1 million. Everything's going to be okay. No, I need to be going out there. I need to be working with people. You know, I need to be going to these meetings that I hated at one time. I need to be kind to the next door neighbor, but I really want to stab him in the face. All this stuff that I went through, I had to turn around, because this is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. So stop blaming other people. You know, well, I'd be okay if I had a better wife. Well, get another fucking wife. You know, if your wife's giving you hassle, get a new one. If you don't like your job, get a new one. You know, if you don't like anything in your life, change it. It has to change before it gets better. If there's no consequences, there's no change. You know, we go forward. We always want to stay the same. The trait of the alcoholic is exactly the same, doing the same thing at the same time and looking for a different result. The definition of insanity is not being able to see my own truth. You know, the other one mentioned always, but the real definition, I can't see my own truth. When I'm stuck in all that shit that I'm dying and trying to climb off in the middle of the sea, trying to save my life, I don't see things around me. When I'm down, when I'm depressed, when I'm in my bedroom and all the windows are closed and it's dark, I don't see how people see me. And that's one of my biggest traits right now is and has been for the last 14 years I've been in Dallas and Texas and San Antonio, is to get people to realize who they are. Because if we could I could swap places with anybody listening right now for 5 minutes and all your problems will be over. And I'll tell you why, because you'll be able to look at yourself for who you are. See, everybody's empowered. Everybody's capable of doing anything. You know, have you noticed how we can pull people back from the gates of hell and insanity? We, not the scientists, not the we can do that. Recovered alcoholics can do that. Recovered addicts can do that. God's given us that power to do that. And it's absolutely mind-blowing when you think about it. It's just like, I've given all this power, but I choose to sit at home. Listen, I get asked this question time and time again. What's the alcoholic? What kills us? Is it the alcohol? No. Is it a resentment? No. It's the number one offender. Selfishness. The book says it blatantly. Selfishness kills us. It's a guaranteed promise from the book. It's not a nice one, but it's the way it is. So if I'm following these rules and regulations, I need that in my life, Chris. I don't know about you, but I need to know. I have no idea what I'm doing tomorrow. Janet will give me my night at 8 o'clock tonight. She'll text it over and I'll look what I have tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'll act in that day like I am doing now. I have no idea what I've got tomorrow, apart from, a big book and my AA meeting in the morning. But yeah, it's crazy, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
So how's your recovery today? I mean, do you feel good? Are you in a good place?
Oh my gosh, I'm doing so much better. Like I shared with you, a couple weeks ago, I was kind of struggling. I was dry. I'll be honest with you guys. I was dry, and that to me is like, it's really, especially when you have the tools and you know better, it's just as bad as a relapse. I mean, mentally, it's the same as a relapse. My mind feels like it's going nuts. I can't focus on anything. It's like I'm depressed. Everything that I felt when I was drinking is how I felt being dry. And it's like, I can honestly say, like, I truly I'm not a person who will go back to drinking, but I'm a person who will easily be dry. And but today I've definitely been doing more meetings, and I love that. It's so funny how our disease really, what is a disease's objective? To kill and destroy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our disease does everything in its power to thrive and to survive and to flourish again. So it tells us all these things, oh, you don't need the meeting, and so my disease is sitting there, in my ear telling me, oh, don't go to the meeting tonight. Oh, you're just making all these excuses. But it's so funny how once we get to that meeting, we feel relief, like we feel like we belong, and you just wonder, why didn't I come here all along, right?
Exactly. You don't have to drink alcohol to relapse, by the way, guys. Alcohol will never come to you on a Monday and go, hey, Rob, let's have a drink. It's a couple of days or even a week or 2 weeks before that relapse is when you've properly relapsed. So when I'm over here trying to get this girl on the side that I can sleep with, and my wife Janet is back at home in the house, that's my relapse. Days or weeks after that, I will drink alcohol. See, it's the behavior before the actual pickup of the drink that's the problem. It's not once you get that thought pattern that I'm going to drink today, it's because you've been selfish in the past. And once that neural pathway has been solidified, you can't go back. I mean, it's literally almost impossible to go back and go, oh, hang on a sec. No, I don't think I'll drink today. If you're the real alcoholic or real addict. And we did some tests early on in my career of tracking alcoholics and addicts when they relapsed. And they stayed, in treatment center for a few days, and then we'd let them out and we'd track them. And when the thought pattern comes and they went, fuck it, I'm going to the liquor store, to when they got to the liquor store, to when they got back in the car and drank it, we found out that the most intoxicating part of that journey was the drive to the liquor store or the drive to the drug dealer. That's it, guys. It's all about the mind. It's not about the drug. It's not about the alcohol. It's got very little to do with alcoholism and addiction. It's all about the mind. Once you can conquer your mind not trying to kill you, and there's several ways of doing that. I mean, really doing it so you never have to drink again, but you don't want to drink again, then everything is cool. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Me and Chris will be back next week, of course. And we've got some new guests on the show for you. And we hope that you will join us, of course. But until then, have a great week, guys. And remember,
guys.
empowered people, empowered people.